Love that you're here. It's 8 a.m. for you.
Yeah.
Yay.
So I own Sew Now, so the local sewing studio. We have a brick and mortar space, and we're just honored and excited to have built this community of sewers where probably there weren't that many before. So we're primarily kids and teens, and I've been doing this for 11 years. So I feel like over the 11 years, we've kind of honed down. We started with kids and adults, and we had an embroidery service and retail, and just finally, over the years, have kind of realized our passion, what we're good at is teaching, and where the sweet spot is for us business-wise is really with that youthful audience. So we've just really focused on that. And I would say last couple of years, we've developed our own sewing patterns product called Fashion Kit. So it's sewing patterns for apparel that are really well adapted to teaching and customizing, and we have a video instructional content, which really works great. So 2017, I would say my biggest accomplishment was just getting our patterns product to a point where we're ready to kind of market it more broadly. We know it works great in our studio, but we're just looking at how to expand that with online sales. So that's kind of been the focus for 2017 for us. And I would say for me, for 2018, I really kind of want to get back to kind of devoted January and February to just finishing all my bookkeeping and accounting from last year, and want to have a more structured business and marketing plan for 2018. So I love being in the thick of prototyping and making stuff and teaching, but the marketing, I kind of know how to do it, but I'm still learning a lot about online, and I wouldn't say it's like my most favorite thing to do. So also probably need to evaluate if I need to bring in a partner for that, or just figure out the marketing plan. So I guess that's a shorter term goal for 2018, but that's what I'm focused on right now.
So marketing for the product, or marketing for your classes, or both?
You know, our classes, we pretty much have it figured out in terms of filling our classes and our summer camps. So it's more about the growth of our online, I'll call it educational product, but our online patterns product, and really defining that market, like other sewing studios. Is it people sewing at home? Is it homeschoolers? Is it just indie sewers? Like, it's a whole separate business in a way. So, yeah.
Where's your shop?
We're in Lafayette, California. So
okay. I know that area. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Where are you, Paige?
I'm in New Jersey, but I've been out there.
Little cold weather up there.
Yeah.
So Susan, you're in a really great spot then to be kind of saturated with what you've got in the studio, and then it's now trying to figure out how to scale beyond that. So that's
yeah. And also a big thing for us this year is our lease is up in May, and kind of the dynamics of that space are changing a little bit. So that's sort of a big decision I need to iron out in the next month, is what we're going to do there.
all right. Yeah. Big one.
So yeah, especially because it's right before summer camp. So I have to have that kind of firmed up in the next few weeks so that we can just launch knowing where.
Yeah.
Yep.
A little bit of uncertainty, guys, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, but you've got some time, so that's good that you're thinking.
Yeah.
You've got lots
it's a whole fresh new year, so I'm optimistic about that. Yeah.
Good. All right, Paige, you want to go next?
Sure. So my name's Paige Sato. I live here in New Jersey. Sewing is something I'm rather new to, maybe within the past 6 years, but it's something that I've taken off with. I used to be a yarn store owner, and I'm a big knitter. I had a full-time job until this year. So fresh into the new year, my program was eliminated at my nonprofit. So I'm taking this as a huge opportunity to move forward with some sort of creative business. Last year, I dipped my toes in the water, and I partnered with. I partnered with an existing studio. It's called Creativity Caravan. They don't do sewing per se, but I created a like a capsule wardrobe series, and actually got 2 or 3 students per class for signups. And we basically do a project over the course of a weekend, with like cutting, pattern tracing and cutting one night, and then sewing on the next 1 or 2 days. And that had projects for September, October, November. We skipped December, and then we started again in January. So that's, I think, my biggest accomplishment for 2017 was getting that off the ground while I was working full time. And now I feel like I can devote more energy to it, and perhaps it's a series that I could take places, to bring to other studios. What I am really good at, and what I've become known for within my very small community, is sewing jeans and doing jeans workshops. And I'm quite good at. I have the samples made up in all the sizes, so the students can come in and try on the different sizes, and we can sort of tweak the fit, not super well in the interest of time, but we can tweak it enough so they don't have the big gappy back. We can practice some top stitching, and then by the end of the weekend they've got a pair of jeans, some really nice jeans. So
Nice.
yeah. So what I'd really like to do is take that workshop more places. It's something that, some people offer, but not a lot. And it's also something, I think jeans was like my second or third project. It's not as intimidating as it seems. And so I like to bring that enthusiasm and you really can do this to different places. So my goal for this year is to identify some studios that would sort of be interested in that type of workshop, that already offer similar things, and then bring, just see if I could bring my workshops there, and start generating some income from this.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that.
I'm curious, what were some of the other capsule pieces? Because capsule wardrobes are such a big thing right now.
Yeah.
Really intrigued by it. What were some of the other things that you made?
So we do, we start with a really basic wrap skirt, a tunic, and then we did a wrap skirt, a tunic. We moved into knits, and we did a pair of leggings. Next month is a t-shirt. A shirt, like a button-down shirt that could be actually expanded, lengthened into another or a dress. And
sorry,
that's okay. A jacket, like the Tamarack jacket, from Grain. I think it's Grain Line Studios. So it's like a quilted 2-season jacket, basically, a spring fall jacket, which you could leave the sleeves off and make a vest. And then the last project is the jeans. So basically you come away with like 2 tops and 2 bottoms and just pieces you can mix and match. The first class that we do, we talk about fabric choices and trying to build something that's cohesive, that they can mix and match their pieces. So like I recommended black for the leggings, black or a gray, a neutral, as opposed to something really flamboyant. And the wrap skirt was just to get started. A lot of the students hadn't really broken out their sewing machines in a really long time. So it was, something that was easy to cut, easy to put together. It was forgiving in the fit. So, and it was quite successful. Everybody really did a good job. So
smart.
yeah. So those are like, I think it's 6 pieces or 7 pieces, and it just it all sort of works and comes together. I have one student, who, she's very modest in her dressing. So the tunic she's lengthened to make a dress each time. But so that's been really great to see people just sort of take that and make it their own.
Yeah, I think, it's funny when you or thinking about, or when I'm thinking about projects for adult classes, it's like that's sort of how you have to think, you know. It has to be sort of something that, you know, if it is beginners, it's going to be very forgiving, and that it's going to be classic, and that, you know, something that once they make it once and get all the kinks out, they could make it, you know, 3 or 4
million more times. Yeah.
So
each of the pieces I picked, you know, like the t-shirt pattern is from Hey June, and it comes with like a scoop neck or a crew neck or a V-neck, and shorts, a cap sleeve, short sleeve, 3/4 sleeve, long sleeve. So you can really, you know, once you've made the basics tee, you can just expand on your options. So
Stephanie, what have you been up to lately?
Well, everyone's so accomplished. I haven't done that much, but
that's okay, because you're in your first year of retirement and you're just taking it.
Right. I stopped working. I'm a teacher. Was a teacher. I stopped saying I am a teacher. Was a teacher until June, and a technology teacher. And I stopped working in June. I say I quit tired because I'm not old enough to retire. So I quit tired. I'm in retirement. So when you quit, and but I love it. Oh my God, it's so great not having to go to work. But I'm also in New Jersey, Paige. I don't know. Where are you?
In Bloomfield.
Oh, you're far from me. I'm in Highland Park, which is right near Rutgers. Yeah. So
you're not far from me. You're not far from me.
Oh, okay. So basically, what the big accomplishment was to stop working. I bought 10 refurbished sewing machines, Brother machines, and there's a space in town right on the main Raritan Avenue called Blank Space, and they are a blank space. It's just a woman who kind of, I'm not sure what, I think it's like she wants it to be an internet cafe where you bring your own computers, your own laptop, and work there, sort of like Panera does, but she charges. So I've been partnering with her to do sewing. When I have private classes, one student, I take them there because I think it's nicer than going to their house, and it's nicer for them not to come to my house, to my studio, which is up in the attic. So I go there. It's nice and sunny. It's a nice space, and that's been working out pretty well. So I'm talking with her now about partnering. Also, my accomplishments for 2017 was stopping working, getting the 10 sewing machines. I gave a class at the library, just an introduction to sewing class, which, you know, I had 12 participants for my 10 machines. So it was really very well received. And so right now, me and the woman who owns the Blank Space in town are partnering to offer classes to homeschoolers. So, because Highland Park's full of Rutgers professors who, I don't know, they don't want to send their kids to school. I don't know, whatever it is. It's like a ton of homeschoolers here. And so we're going to start offering classes in the middle of the day for homeschoolers, because Wednesday, a lot of them are free. So we figure we're going to do that. And, you know, Megan, you know, I'm constantly talking about sip and sews, because to me, that's the ultimate. If you can get some women, some wine, some power tools, you know.
I loved how you were I don't want to teach kids. I just want to teach adults. And I thought that was such a good thing, because you have that choice to do that, you know. Yeah. But at the same time, it's hard to be like, I'm not going to teach kids when there's kids that are going, teach me how to sew.
I know. I guess it's like, you know, when I taught technology, it's 100 kids a day. I'm over kids. Seriously. I'm over kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I also, I don't realize until I start teaching, like presenting, I call it now, how much I really like that. And I always forget how much fun I have standing in front of a group of people, because I'm a really big ham. So I love it. But I really, I think my passion is more, I'm very interested in sustainability. So I take leather coats and I make handbags out of them. So launching my Etsy shop, which doesn't have a lot in it, but just getting that done, like getting some bags to the point where I felt like somebody would actually pay what I want for that, you know, what I want to get for them, and having that done, that really feels good, because that's like, you know, now I'm like, okay, the engine's going, I can just throw stuff up there, you know, all the time. And I've been sewing for my entire life. And so, since I was 5. So, but I have that sort of perfectionist thing. Like, I know that I'm not producing at the perceived, perfection of mass production. That's what I call it. I don't have that in my sewing. I don't, I'm using recycled materials, first of all. So there's all kinds of little character things in these, little, things that aren't perfect.
Tell us what your Instagram is, because I just remember seeing something the other day, and to see that before and after of that leather jacket, it was just, to me, I love that so much, because it's a jacket that nobody's going to buy at the thrift store, because it's not anything, it's probably great leather, but it's sitting there and it's heavy and you turned it into this gorgeous bag. I loved it so much. So what is your Instagram again?
My Instagram is stitchstory.net, but it's stitchstory DOTNET, because you can't have the dot in Instagram. So it's stitchstory stitchstory DOTNET, stitchstory.net, all spelled out is what it is. Yeah. So, and my Etsy store is not even close to that. It's I Come With a Past. That's my Etsy store. So pretty much that's for 2018. I really would like to get the sewing thing done, even if it is teenagers and homeschooling. Mm-hmm. I want to get that done. I'm going to plow through and get some women for sip and sew, because that's what I would love that. And I have some ideas. I think the last time I was on the call with you, Megan, you guys gave me some really good ideas for maybe having engagement parties or baby showers where everybody does a block, and maybe I put it all together and give it to the bride or whatever. I think that's that's a really super idea. So kind of marketing those things, getting those things off the ground, I think are, what my plans are for 2018. Maybe trying to focus my vision a little bit, because I'm kind of all over the place and I'm just having a good time. So
good.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
So if you do the sip and sew, do you do that at the blank space?
Yeah.
And are there issues with license?
I'll publish you. Whatever you do is fine. Yeah. So it's kind of like, I look at it like a closed party, and you just bring, they're already registered and everything, and we're not letting people in off the street. It's like a private party. So
I'm just curious. Yeah.
That's how we've always done it. It's, you don't really advertise that, you're drinking or whatever, but if they bring, and I'm not providing it, obviously I've never provided it, but if they're bringing it in, it's sort of like they're able to.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Who wants to go? Nyla showed up. Yay. Nyla's got sick kids, so she's probably tired. Do you want to talk about, we'll just go around in the circle of screens, but do you want to talk about what you've had going on lately? I think you have a lot going on. I don't even know. I want to hear the update. What's happening? Oh, can't hear you. Check your audio. No?
Hello?
Yeah.
No, I don't think that was Nyla though. No. All right, hold on. Let's have Jessica go, and then, I think she's signing back in. All right, so Jessica, you go, and then we'll see if she can.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, this is my first time doing anything like this. I've done like audio stuff before, but never audio visual. So, and I'm working on an iPad that I'm not familiar with. So, apologize about that. Jessica Werner. I live in Plainfield, New Jersey. I own a company called Not Just Aprons. I've been in business for about 3 years. Started off, I've been sewing my entire life, went to school for it, and it just kept at it, basically I specialize in aprons for full-figured women. And then that's my bread and butter. And then I also do custom work when need, if anybody asks. So I do advanced work as well. So I'm sorry. I'd say that my biggest accomplishment in 2017, being in business for only 3 years, I broke even for the year.
Yay.
Great.
And then I really ramped up my marketing, and I joined Instagram, which was a huge, which was just huge for me, because all of a sudden I've got more people following me, more people inquiring about things. And then I'd say for 2018, my goals would be to basically streamline my production, because I need to channel it somehow so it's not all over the place. I'm a one-woman show, and to really get my bookkeeping
Mm-hmm.
to really get my bookkeeping down pat, I think that would be helpful. And then I do a bunch of sewing workshops locally up in Morristown. I guess that's kind of considered local, and that's it actually. So I don't have much.
No, it's great. So wait, where do you teach in Morristown? What's it called?
I don't really teach so much as I do these workshops there, and sometimes I did one this past Saturday where it was so it's I belong to a group called the New Jersey Sewing Circle, and it's based out of the Morris Township Library on South Ave, I think, in Morristown. And we meet once a month. This month we met twice, and we talk about construction. We do a show and tell. At the end of the year, we do a fabric swap, and we're able to bring our machines in, and we just sew for like 3 hours. You get coffee, you get cookies, and you sew with people. But this week we had a talk and demonstration on jacket construction. And then this past Saturday, we had some kids over to teach them how to sew, basically, just do basics.
Uh-huh.
And we made these really cute little clutches that had they had an option of a button or a snap. And it was really cute. So we're going to be doing more of those as the year progresses.
Jessica, what's your Instagram so I can share it after, or share it?
Yeah, it's not just aprons, but between each word is a underscore. So it's not underscore, just underscore aprons with an S at the end.
Okay.
Only because I found out somebody else had Instagram handle with not just aprons, but they don't do anything with it.
Oh.
It's like it's there, and I can't get them to remove it somehow.
Yeah.
But that's, it is what it is.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. And Nyla, can we hear you now? No. Dang it.
Wow.
Weird. Oh,
Can you sign?
Yeah.
Can you sign?
Oh well. All right. Well, are you on the normal laptop that you're normally on for these? Oh, I guess you can't answer me, I guess. Okay, I'm talking to myself.
It must be somehow muted.
Yeah, I guess. And it's not muted on my end, but
Maybe Nyla's volume is down.
is your volume down?
You guys have at the bottom left a mute.
Yeah, there's like a microphone at the bottom
Yeah.
left. Is that working? No. Okay. She usually does this, so I don't know. It must be like she knows how to do it. All right. Well, yay. Awesome. I wrote a blog post. I'm trying to even remember what my accomplishments for 2000.
Yeah, tell us yours, Megan.
For 2017, I would say my biggest accomplishment, God, I don't know. I think it's just to, rely a little bit more on my teachers, and kind of step back a little bit, because I have been doing this a long time and it takes a lot, and I have some really great people that are helping me. And I feel, especially, I actually just had a medical thing go on. So it's just like this last couple of weeks, I'm like so grateful for the people that I have working with me, because they've really been able to sort of like take the stuff that I haven't been able to do. So so I would say that's definitely one of the biggest accomplishments for me for 2017. And for 2018, it's been a dream of mine to have a house in upstate New York. And so we found this really great little cabin, and I'm gonna hopefully have some sewing retreats up there. We've been doing sewing retreats.
Where upstate? Sorry,
No, that's okay. The house is in Harpersfield, New York. So it's about 3 hours north and west of where I am, in Jersey City. And so it's not super close, but it's not super far. And it's in the general Catskills area where I've held sewing retreats before, where I've rented houses and held them. So so now we have this house that we're kind of slowly but surely transforming into a place that I can have retreats. It's going to be interesting. I think the first one I'm going to do is just going to be sort of invite only, just people that I know will sort of give me an easy time, because the house is definitely not as nice as the ones that we've rented in the past. It will be eventually, but we have to do some work on it. So I'm hoping to have a retreat in March. I don't know if I'm biting off more than I can chew, but yeah, so that's a huge one for me. I've lived in an urban area for a really long time, and I grew up in a really rural area. So I definitely feel like I want to get back to that part-time, but it's hard when you have your own business to just sort of like up and move and be like, I'm going to be in the rural area, and then there's no business. So figuring out a way to have a little bit of both, which is a nice feeling. So that's it for me. And then I'm also, this whole hip stitch thing, I am trying to grow it and continue it. So I thank you all for showing up and being a part of it. So yeah, I hope there'll be more with the Hip Stitch Academy. Your noises coming from Nyla. Can we hear you?
Hopefully. Oh shit! Did I just?
Your video song. We can hear you.
Hear me now?
Here.
Yay!
Whoops. Well, I thought I closed out of it for a second because I switched to my cell phone. So I guess it works.
Yeah. It says that you're Javier, but that's fine.
Well, which is actually funny. My daughter, she's 15, and so we both have phones that Bluetooth to the car. So we named ours after our favorite male actor.
Oh,
so
nice.
Javier Bardem. Hers
Nice.
For Idris Elba, and I'm like, oh, you took my man. That's not fair.
That's a good one.
In any case, yeah, it's nice to see all you guys. 2017. So 2017, I started a business. Woohoo! So that's my
accomplishment.
Although I feel like my biggest accomplishment was actually making a dress finally last week.
Awesome.
Yeah, like you just don't get to sew enough. I can't remember who you were talking to about like sewing as meditation, and it was in one of your Sewing Boss interviews, I think. And trying to like sew more. And so I really kind of want to wrap my head around that for 2018 to like so with that being said, you know, it's like things happened in a different way than I planned, obviously. Megan pushed me into summer camps, which was awesome because I was like really scared. And then it was like, just do it. So I did it and it was great. Classes are very slow because everybody's super, super interested in it. I just have no time. I'm like, so one thing that happened was, so I have the studio, and then all of a sudden I had these classes that somebody asked me to teach at the one of the charter schools here. And so I started teaching that, and it was like, you know, like 25 kids signed up like the first day. So then I find myself teaching like 3 classes a week at this, and it's great. I mean, I'm charging the same rate. It's just there instead of at my studio, which can actually hold more kids there. So that's great. But it's an odd time, so it doesn't really leave me time to have more classes on those days and manage childcare. And, you know, so it's been a real, I'd say my biggest challenge and my biggest goal for 2018 is that work-life balance, like being able to, you know, I have hired help, but what I really need to do is hire teachers now. No. I'm sorry, my child has shown up for some food. In any case, so that's a big one, because unless I have more teachers, I can't have more students, really. Although I need to fill the classes that I have right now, which has been just a big problem, because I also, since I'm just trying to sort of like prepare for my classes and make sure that I get there and sew up everything at home, I, you know, don't have any time to do marketing. So it's like this whole, I don't have time. So going to hire teachers is my next thing. Like that's how I'm going to work on that. That's this week's thing. I also just setting the schedule for, you know, the rest of this year has been really hard. I went from doing like 1 hour, 10-week classes to I'm phasing into more 6-week classes for like an hour and a half. And one of the reasons I do that is because it's going to be the same length of class, like, you know, it's still be like 10 or 12 class hours, or maybe 9, but in that range. But people do these seasonal sports here. So it's like, I have all these moms that are like, oh my gosh, I can't, we ski on the weekends and I can't, you know, or like it's the dance schedule happens like in the spring. And so like since I have children that are younger, I know like what sort of works. And so, I mean, one of my good accomplishments, I would say, is to try something. And if it doesn't work, try something else. Not too much. Like you want to give something like, let it run its course. But like, I guess I'm sort of proud of myself for that in 2017, for like not being too stuck and seeing what works for me. So, and then, you know, I mean, I don't know how much money I made this past, like since June when I started, because I'm spending a lot of money as well. But I do have goals. I just yesterday made all my goals for like money-wise for 2018 and 19, so that I have something like solid that I can look at, like what would happen if I had like 50% capacity of my classes, like what that would look like in terms of money.
Nyla, where's your studio?
My studio is in Marblehead, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Very small town, but so one of the other
towns. Marblehead, that's a beautiful town.
Yeah. It's cool. It's but it's on a peninsula, and there isn't a lot of things like that I'm doing around here. So one of the things I grapple with is like the kids from neighboring communities, they want to do it and they want to come to Marblehead to do it, but they can't get here by like 3:30. Like they have like between like 4 and 8. And my kids are in daycare, so they can only go until like 4. And even at that, I'm paying like $30,000 a year to have. I mean, daycare is insane. So it's trying to figure out how to have a business that happens after school when that's the only time you can, you know, you have your kid. So that's been a challenge. So hiring people, definitely. Also, the mobile classes, clearly there's like a big need for that around here. In fact, one of my friends is on the board at the Jewish Community Center here, that's where my kids go to school. And they mentioned it to them to have somebody come in and do sewing like me. And then they ended up having an internal person doing it. Hey, I'm talking. Yeah, okay. So they ended up having somebody of their own do it. And he's a nice young guy, I guess. But I saw one of their classes and he had the sewing machine and then he had like 2 kids around the sewing machine. And he had the pedal on the table and he would say, and he would set up whatever was going to be going through the machine. And then he would say, okay, now go. And one of the kids would bang on the
Oh.
Wow.
I was like, yeah, okay. So,
Oh my goodness.
That's me anxiety right now.
Oh my gosh.
And what was great was it happened to be the son of my friend who's on the board who had told them that they should have me come do the class there. So she was like, oh my God. Because he's like 7 and her daughter who's 5 came over to the studio and I just like had like a little lesson with the mom and her, and the little one is like sewing like a normal, she's 5 and she's so they can do it. And I think people are starting to realize that I have like a legit operation. It's just a matter of, when I hear that somebody dropped a hint to the board of the JCC, I need to like follow up on that, but it's like, I don't even have the staff to say, hey, we're going to do a class at the JCC, but I'm taking my time where, I'm lucky that my overhead is so low that I can afford to not be crazy running business right now because we have some sort of family issues going on, but it's going. I would say it is a business. It might be in the red at the moment, but and there's a lot of interest. So anyway, that's my spiel. Sorry, I kind of talked forever.
No, it's good. So yeah, you definitely need to hire somebody.
Yeah, probably more than
At least one person, but if not more.
Yeah.
yeah.
Good.
No, for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's one of those things too. It's like you don't even really have to step in and be like, hey, so I'm a much better teacher. It's just gonna come around, and they're gonna like see that, this person is trying, but this is what you do, and it just sort of legitimizes what you do. So yeah, you'll be teaching there in no time.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm having a lot of fun. I have learned that teenagers they drive me insane. That's I mean, that's another reason to hire a teacher, right? I with the kids that I like.
Exactly.
But the cool thing is there's a big buzz. It's just capturing that and being, patient, but also working hard. So yeah, that was a great leather bag jacket thing. I just looked that up on Instagram, by the way.
Multitasker.
Yeah.
Nyla, what's your Instagram?
My Instagram, so the name of my business is called Seamsters Local.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the Instagram is @SeamstersLocal.
Oh, that's you. That's so nice to meet you.
I didn't get yours, Susan. What's your Instagram?
So we have @SewNow, SEWNOW.
Mm-hmm.
I follow you.
I think I might be @SewNow Fashion Studio. I have to check.
Okay.
And then we also have @Fashion Kit, which is our patterns one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting those. I'm excited.
Like we're totally like I've Seamsters Local. I see you guys all the time, so it's so nice to meet you. And
Yeah, you too. I'm kind of excited to get a fashion kit. I haven't done it yet, but
I can hook you up.
Something like that for the summer. I'm talking to my friends. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, if you notice, like that's the thing. Like I have this giant gap of like 6 weeks where I haven't posted anything on Instagram or Facebook. Like,
It happens. That's the other thing about having staff. Like I have my part-time instructors, when they're on shift, they do a post each day. So that's really helpful for me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm gonna get that going on.
So my Instagram is Paige Makes Stuff, and it's PAIGE.
Say it
So
again.
I'll look for you all.
Okay.
I'll include all of this in the notes.
Oh, great.
Oh,
of the
good.
video. So I'll include everybody's, where you can find everybody and what their goals are. Because I
Yeah.
think that's, another thing that's really important is to just say them out loud in front of somebody else, right? It just like holds you a little bit more accountable without like a ton of pressure, but just like say it out loud, make it real. So I'll include that as well.
Great.
All right. So I think that's been good. Is there anything else that anybody wants to throw in there that they forgot to say? Or anything else? Questions or something?
I do. I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't know if yeah. Like when I do my, I've only done these like little one-shot classes. Now I'm not talking about the sip and selves, but I'm talking about like what I did at the library and stuff. Like, I think from listening to the rest of you, I think that I am setting the bar too low because I have people coming in who've never touched a sewing machine before. So I'm thinking, oh my God, so I give them like this little ridiculous tote bag. But you guys are doing like wrap skirts and, all this kind of stuff. And so I'm thinking I need to up my game. Like, I mean, you're finding that someone who comes in and has never touched a sewing machine can actually make a wrap skirt? Because that'd be awesome.
Yeah, the first class, and I had 3 students, and in fact, one of the women came in. She didn't even own a sewing machine. So, I mean, thank God I brought mine. My classes, because it's not a sewing studio per se, everyone brings their own machine.
Okay.
I bring along mine in case there are any technical issues, and I also bring my serger so they can have like pretty insides. I just feel like that makes it so much more rewarding. And this one woman, she had never sewn a stitch in her life, and she didn't even own a machine. And her skirt came out the best. I mean, it was so beautiful.
But your workshops are multiple hours though, right? They're like over a weekend, about how many hours?
Yeah, so the wrap skirt we actually did in a day. It was like we started at noon, and basically we used the seam work pattern, and so those are supposed to be done in 3 hours, and I built in time for everything, and we finished in about 4. So we had reserved the studio space from 12 to 5. So they all knew they were having like a commitment of 5 hours. And if we finished early, that was great. But we took pretty much the whole time. So it can, and that I always make sure to build in a break about halfway through so we can go stretch our legs. There's a coffee shop at the corner. It was like when you're at a good spot, get up and walk away, you come back refreshed. So, but I found that, like, I think there are just people out there who like to do either home decorating, they like curtains and valances and things like that. There are other people who are more like accessories and scarves and bags and coin purses and stuff. And then there's people who want to make garments. And apparel. So it's a little bit tricky to convince somebody that, you can really do this, even if you haven't, sewn in a while. But I've tried to, it's hard when I'm teaching the class to also take the pictures and post them as the class is going on, but just sort of making sure it's like, look, she's never sewn before, and look at her skirt, and she can wear it to work. And
I totally agree with that. It's like anybody can sort of do whatever it is that you're going to teach them. You're there to help them. So like any problems that they're going to sort of encounter if they were working on it themselves, those encounters where you're like, I have no idea what to do. As long as you're there as the teacher, you're going to help them on to the next thing. So given the, enough time, I think, anything, just about anything's possible.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
And I definitely will say, in my experience, because now I have a bunch of teaching experience, which I never had before, I feel like most of my stuff is project based, and So I feel like if I know how long it's going to take to make it for like an adult and a child, because those are two totally different things, but I start with how long is it going to take to make it, and then it's like I can choose if I want to do it a workshop or a class, or but if you give me hours to make something, I get the machine part right out of the way, because I find people's like fear is either of the actual machine or of like the daunting process. Now I find when people are scared of the actual machine, I'm like, oh, that's great, because we can overcome that in like about 20 minutes. Or less. Yeah. If they're afraid of the actual process, I'm like, okay, well, you should be maybe, because it's a lot. It takes a long time. Like you don't do something in like an hour and I've done that many times. My stuff looks like crap. So if I rush it, so in that sense, then I'm there to guide them on the actual process. And once they, if they're a complete beginner, is going to be so excited about the machine that then they just kind of like want to keep going once they realize the machine's a tool and not like the thing that you're there to do. And actually, I've had to step back with my teenagers. I have one class that they just want to do stuff like, they only do it once a week and they just want to finish and whatever. So I showed up last week with no sewing machines, or I didn't take them out, and they were like, what? I'm like, well, the next 2 classes you're going to be cutting and planning. And they were like, what? I'm like, oh, I wrote 80/20 on the whiteboard in giant. They're like, what does that mean? I'm like, who's studying percents? And one of them raised their hand. I'm like, sewing, any project is 80% planning and 20% sewing. So we're going to do that 80% for the next couple of days. And they're actually like into it. They're like, oh, they actually slowed down and thought about the fabric and thought about like how, piece things together and like cut things on the line instead of like 4 inches off it. So but I had to realize that it was going to take like 4 class hours to do like a pair of slippers, and I was able to tell them that, and but their projects are going to come out awesome. So, but I would say it really doesn't, whatever format you feel comfortable with. If you want to do it, 5 hours in a day, then like I actually like that sometimes. But the 1 week classes are great also, but I like having like a longer, at least 9 hours, 9 class hours, I think is good for children. Whether that's over 10 weeks or, hour and a half classes over shorter weeks. But yeah, you can do it.
Also, it's more lucrative, I feel like, because you could be marketing to these beginners either a 4-week, or we do 4-week, but mostly 7-week classes. And so it's just really good for business. I feel like the workshop customers may be a little bit different. They want to come in and just try it, see if they like it. But especially with kids signing up for programs, families are so used to signing up for 4 weeks, 7 week, week of summer camp. So you may as well get that registration fee.
So Susan and Nyla, who have studios, or anyone else who has studios, do you sell the fabric for your projects, or do you just give them a supply list?
We do it. So we supply everything. So in our weekly classes, supplies are included. So we have a little pro shop with fabric swatches and all the supplies they need. And it's kind of all included in the class fees. We also have something called Fashion Club, which is for tweens and teens. So those are kids that are coming in once or often twice a week to sew at their own pace. And those Fashion Club students purchase their fabric and supplies separately. So, they can buy those from us or anywhere else, but it's just really convenient. We're also in kind of a small-ish town. So there's, it's half an hour, 20 minutes to Joann's and whatnot. So oftentimes it's just easier to buy with us. And also we have a really nice supply of garment making knits, wovens that are like going to give you a fashion result.
Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah, sorry, I had to move. Hopefully you can see. I carry all the fabric that we use. I include it in the price of all the classes. So, and my classes are a little more expensive than most of the other ones around. But, I mean, not sewing because I'm kind of the only one that does that, but other things like maybe gymnastics or whatever, because I supply everything. They're doing projects where, you know, like my teen class, they sort of do these longer projects that one of them might, you know, then want instead of buttons, they want to do buckles on their bag, then I'll actually go buy those and just include it. And that's, you know, or order it. And that for me, to be able to charge $20 an hour flat, like pretty much across the board, is worth it. And then I'm actually working on bringing in fabrics from Europe to carry for my grown-ups. I'm trying to get a couple of wholesale accounts with some like super nice, because there's not too many places around here to get fabric. I mean, there are, but they're like a half hour to 40 minutes. Yeah. And that's not that bad. We're like right outside of Boston, but so they'll bring their own or, but I would like to have some really great stuff, but I don't have a ton of room. So, you know, I'm going to maybe carry like 15 bolts or something like that. But otherwise, yeah. And I mean, it depends really how far you are away from a good fabric source, I think.
Right.
But I definitely like to price. And then, you know, I have a bottom line. Like I don't spend between, really, I try to stick to $4 a yard. Most of the time I get it less than that for my kids' classes to have on hand for them, which means that at $20 an hour per kid, like they can use, you know, a yard of fabric each per class hour. Like that doesn't happen. It's like a yard of fabric per like 3 hours, you know, if even that. Sometimes they're using scraps. So, you know, working out the numbers wise, it really makes sense to, and quite frankly, I have had such good luck with Joann's for the cotton fabric and stuff. I mean, I just go and hit a sale at $1.99 a yard. It's like, I mean, I don't even know where else to get that.
Yeah.
So I have to like stock up and, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
All right. Cool. Well, it's about 12, so I think we'll wrap it up. I so appreciate all of you coming and hanging out for an hour. And like I said, I'll put this up. People can watch it. If you know about anybody else that might be interested, send them our way. And it's good to see you all. I don't know the date off the top of my head, but it's up there. So hopefully I'll see you all in a month. If not,
Yeah.
soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wow,
Bye,
I'm so excited to see your Instagram.
I'll share everything.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.